Okay, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that a phone with specs from the future, but with a price tag from, like, right now, was actually real? Sounds impossible, right? Well, today we are talking about the iQOO 15R, a device that seems to be doing exactly that.
But listen, before we dive into these absolutely insane specs, if you want to be the first to know about tech that just breaks all the rules, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button for App Brand Tech Auth right now. Seriously, you are not going to want to miss what's coming up.
All right, first up, let's talk about the heart of this absolute beast. It is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. And just to be crystal clear, this is a chip that isn't even really supposed to be out yet. We're talking 2026 level power, here and now.
Now get a load of this, 7,600 milliamp hours. No, that is not a typo. Most flagship phones out there are pretty happy if they hit 5,000. This is a battery that could genuinely last you for days, not just hours.
And then you see this, the price. This is the number that just makes you stop and stare. An expected starting price just under 46,000 rupees. For a phone with these kinds of specs, it almost doesn't make sense.
So this is the big question hanging over everything, isn't it? A next-gen chip, a battery that's just massive, and a price that seems way too good to be true. How is this even possible? Well, let's dig in and find out.
To get our answer, we got to start with the official news, because you know what? This isn't just a rumor anymore. iQOO has officially confirmed they are launching a phone that is specifically designed to completely shake up the market.
So let's give it its proper name, the iQOO 15R. The company has made it official, the microsite is actually live, the details are out there, and it is confirmed for an India launch. The whole speculation phase, yeah, that's over. This is real.
And here is the proof. You're going to want to mark your calendars for this. February 24th, 2026, right here in India. You'll be able to grab it on Amazon or iQOO's own store. And get this is supposed to be the more affordable version of their main flagship. Wild.
Okay, so what's really powering this so-called flagship killer? Let's take a much closer look under the hood and really deconstruct these massive performance claims. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 isn't just a small upgrade. This is the chip that will be powering the most expensive, top-of-the-line phones of 2026. And iQOO is just casually dropping it into their supposedly budget flagship. That is a huge statement.
And it's not just about the chip either. It's learning Android 16 right out of the box. That's next year's software, with up to 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. I mean, this phone is just built to fly no matter what you try to throw at it.
You know, this chart pretty much says it all. While all the other 2025 flagships are running on the Gen 4 chip and Android 15, the iQOO 15R is a full generation ahead of the competition. It's literally like getting a 2026 phone a whole year early.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about what might be the single biggest headline grabber for this phone, that battery. A number this big just begs the question, is multi-day use finally a reality?
So to really wrap your head around this, just look at the numbers. Most flagships, they top out around 5,000 milliamp hour. The iQOO 15R has over 50% more battery capacity. This isn't just an improvement, folks. This is a completely different class of battery life. Look, a huge battery is great, but not if it takes like half a day to charge. And that's exactly why the 100-watt fast charging is so crucial. You get days of battery life, and then when you do finally need to plug in, it's going to be incredibly fast. Okay, so a next-gen chip and a monster battery at that price? You have to be asking yourself, where's the catch? Where did they cut corners? And a lot of the time, it's the camera. So let's investigate the optics and see if that's what's going on here. So here is the camera setup. The main event obviously is that 200 megapixel main camera. That is a massive number. Then it's supported by an 8 megapixel ultra-wide and a 32 megapixel selfie camera up front.
And this is a really key detail. That 200MP sensor has optical image stabilization, or OIS. What that means in the real world is that your photos and videos are going to be way less blurry, even if your hands are a little shaky, or if you're shooting in low light. It's pretty much a must-have feature for any good camera. But this brings us to a really valid question. You have this incredibly high-resolution main sensor, and then a pretty standard 8 megapixel ultra-wide.
Is this really the right balance? Or is this the clever compromise that lets iQOO hit that unbelievable price? It is definitely something to think about.
So we've seen the incredible power, the absolutely massive battery, and the high-res camera. Now it's time for the final piece of the puzzle, and you could argue it's the most important one of all, the price.
This timeline just shows how fast this has all come together. We went from rumors to reality in a super short amount of time. And the one date you need to remember is February 24th, 2026. That is when this phone officially lands in India. And here it is again, 45,999 rupees. When you actually stop and consider the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, the 7600 mAh battery, and a 200 MP camera, this price is what makes this phone a potential game changer. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Based on everything we know right now, the iQOO 15R seems almost perfect. But is it too good to be true? Is there some hidden catch that we're all missing? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I am really curious to see what you all think about this one.